illegitimate government of national unity. You're dealing with a government that does not obey court orders. You're dealing with a government which is beginning to infiltrate the judiciary. You are looking at a situation where they pay themselves allowances, where they pay themselves huge amounts in the political parties bill to reward their parties, so that small parties emerging from the public can never emerge, because only those who claim they were voted by us are taking money on our basis, and yet they don't reflect us. And they are showing you that they can take 2/3 of parliament and do whatever they want with it. So I want to raise this alarm to this nation at this time, at this moment, that let it be said that some of us began to say very early on that we must, first of all, say that the multi-party state, as described in Chapter 4 of the 2010 Constitution, that there will be a government and that there will be an opposition, in order that Kenya is a multi-party state guaranteed by the Bill of Rights, has now no longer continued to exist and does not exist at all. And one of the reasons that I'm in court next Thursday on the 17th of October, leading a constitutional petition against the sale of Jomo Kenyatta Airport, is because the government and the opposition and parliament and all the persons we have delegated our authority to are taking that authority to waste our society and our property and our assets without getting to the propriety of the case. How do you take an asset that belongs to the public, but is also a profitable asset, so that you take it at no reason whatsoever, give it to without any public participation, public scrutiny, and continue a plan and a system of raping the public? So you rape the public on elections. You rape them by paying yourselves, including giving yourselves pensions, taking from the political party's fund. Then you take their assets of Kenya and you say that you're privatizing them. And then you go to the streets and you order the army and deploy them. Then you take guns and bullets and shoot our children. And then you leave them to be buried and rot as dogs. And then you wake up every Sunday and go to church. And the man you used to go to church with, Rigathi Gachagua, you impeach him in 24 hours. Like as though that was like killing a mosquito on a bed. If they can do that to Gachagua, what can they do to you? This is a state of an emergency. And I'm calling upon all Kenyans, particularly those who say that they are the Gen Z and whatever. This is a time for all hands on deck. I do not want to hear, I have no longer any appetite to hear, oh, this is our favorite person, or this person has done this, or we don't want that person. The reason you're continuing to be used this way is because of this attitude of arrogance that must stop. Until we stop being arrogant against ourselves, they are going to continue to step on us. We must unify. We must bring in the experience of yesterday with the vigorous anticipation of youth. We must be able to recreate a coalition of the willing. We must be able to bring all Kenyans together in a manner that will surprise them. We look back in our history and you will find that within our history, there were men and women who stood beyond their time and sacrificed beyond their call of duty, whether it be Kenneth Matiba or Wangari Maathai or Degama Pinto or Tom Mboya or Robert Ouko. There were so many, and there can be so many others who can join within the current and the energetic in order that what is created is an alternative universe from the universe that is being created by our looters and by our detractors who are captured power in 2022 illegitimately because they are governing by a fraud. What was cast in votes is not what is in government or opposition altogether. It is therefore true to say that the entire government of Kenya, the entire opposition structure, including parliament, senate, they are all illegal, they are all illegitimate and do not have the mandate of the Kenyan people. And therefore, if somebody was to ask me, how are we going to go forward from here? And during the 90s, there was a time we decided not to appeal to the government. We decided to appeal to lawyers. Then Paul Mwite was the chairman of the Law Society. And there was a time all lawyers began to boycott the going to court on any matter, whether it be constitutional, be it corporate law, until certain things were done. We must have a kind of a national boycott of our judiciary system until such a time the IBC is put in place, because without the IBC, all these lamentations that people are talking about, be they an idea of referendum, an idea of recalling MPs, an idea of anything electoral, is null and void, can never take off without an independent electoral boundaries commission. And it is possible to call about other institutions that are not in the control of government. That is why when doctors go to the streets and strike, and the hospitals are shut, and when the teachers go to the streets and strike, and the schools are shut, the government, with all its arrogance, with all these things they have put on their one side, are forced to come back and kneel before the people, because that's the language they understand, the language of defiance and the language of saying no. If we can get the lawyers, if we can talk to them, and obviously right now their lawyers are also split, because there are those since the government of national unity who have abandoned us. I still believe that we can get a large number of people to disrupt the entire legal system. Because until you disrupt the legal system, you cannot get an IBC. You're not going to get it from parliament. We must find a way in which we hold the government by the neck. We must be able to make sure there is no oxygen in the system of government. And they cannot govern without a legal system. They cannot govern without doctors or teachers. And since those are not the places we need to fight for IBC, mine is to try and see if we can build any kind of consensus around courts and the legal process of boycott as a tool of energizing and bringing, judges and the High Court and Kenyan people into looking at the IBC question. Now, moving from that point, I also want to say that William Ruto's impeachment motion meant very little to me. I really don't give a damn if he removes Gachagua or he does not. But it sent shockwaves to me that this can be the template of extending his rule in parliament. By extending his rule of MPs, he can go and say, look, now we want a 7-year term. We can be able to come back without any inhibition and use the Museveni Kagame playbook of raping the constitution and in making sure that the 2010 constitution becomes the Ruto constitution of 2024, 2025. And therefore, my question is not a question, actually. It's a call of action. The call of action that we must do to ensure that this does not happen is to take advantage, because the enemy of your enemy is my friend. Right now, the country, and yesterday, opinion polls are showing that 76 to 80% of the country is anti the Ruto government, anti the Ruto coalition. In fact, it has swallowed Ruto, it has swallowed ODM, it has swallowed all the enablers of that government. And the public jointly, nearly 80% is anti this government. And that being the case, it means that the public mood, the public displeasure can be used and can be mobilized into a resistance. And that resistance on the streets can aid the resistance in the courts. And because there is despondency, some of the people who are very angry with this government are angry for selfish reasons. But for me, it does not matter why they are angry. What matters is that there is a lot of anger out there. We must be strategic. We must be definite. We must be conniving. We must also act like the thief is acting. You must set a thief to catch a thief. We cannot go there with a Bible and wearing the bishop's clock when the man is wearing a gun and a machete in his back every night against the Kenyan people. We must redefine ourselves. We must begin to collaborate and bring together even people we never thought were allies. Because unless we do that, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, where we are in the middle of 2024, God forbid where we will be in the middle of 2025, unless we as a people rise up. Finally, on the Adani question, I want to give this undertaking that I think because people have been confused about the two processes in court. One was a judicial review by the LSK, and mine is a constitutional application which seeks to nullify the matter completely. I believe that from the 17th, the High Court will have merged the two matters summoto, and that this matter of the JKIA will be one of the first times we can draw blood from the veins of William Ruto. A very thorough process has been put in place. I'm limited by the rules of the courts, what I may say or not say, but I want to learn for now by saying Kenyans, we are in the most dangerous time we have ever been since the establishment of the Kenyan Republic in 1964.
Thank you so much, Tony, for powerful submission. I'm aligned with everything that you've said, especially where you've said now we need all hands on deck. This movement needs all of us to work together. If you think of working as a separate group or is acting under a separate organization, then you have not properly diagnosed who the enemy is and who we are
fighting. What's going on?
Doctor, you can't hear me? I don't think Doctor can hear me. Doctor can
continue.
Hear me.
Let me text him.
Okay. The way Tony has properly tried to shape and make you understand.
Hello?
Make you understand how this government, this corrupt government, cannot be defeated, cannot be beaten by separate. When we work in sectarian parties, we have to unite because we are literally at a very dangerous point in this country with all the tyranny that is creeping in. I'd like to give the microphone to welcome Nelson on the space. He was a little bit late. Before I give him the microphone, we just want to acknowledge your presence. I'll have two speakers go, and then I'll give the microphone to Nelson. If you hear my alarm go off, know you have exhausted your 3 minutes. We have a heavy request line, and we have to get as many speakers as we can to commentate on the state of the nation. So I'll give the microphone to Tom Boyer Jr. Can you hear me? Tom Boyer, are you there? Tom Boyer, we cannot hear me. Samuel Kasuni, Samuel.
Yes,
hello. Yes, I'm here.
You.
Are you able to hear me?
Cannot hear me. Samuel,
yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Samuel, hold on. Tom Boyer, go ahead. Tom is bado ako kwa listener.
Let me proceed. I hope you are hearing me. Kindly confirm with 100.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm speaking. Thank you. I want to. I hope you are hearing me. Kindly confirm with 100. Well, I just want to be very precise. There is one observation I've made so far. And with regards to the comments by Tony Gachoka, we really need to unite, and we really need to craft a strategy that is almost similar to the strategy of our enemy. Because when we are in a ring, we want to fight. The rules are always the same, and it's always a must that you stay on the ring until you win. So what I've always observed with the government is that they have strategies that coin what they have to do, what narrative they have to set in the country, and also they have a system whereby they engage bloggers to keep confusing Kenyans with different narratives. How I wish we can also be such strategic. We also need to get serious bloggers, for example, with an aim of countering and focusing on the bloggers themselves. For example, the government, in a way, managed to identify key leaders or key revolutionaries who are very influential among us. And they decided to share sentiments that divides these key revolutionaries. I suggest that we should be able to focus on also dividing the government bloggers. Let us even consider going for personal and private lives to confuse them. That is just one of the suggestions I want to make. Another thing that is an unpopular opinion is that the only strategy that is going to work for us is the streets. That is what made Ruto for the first time to say, Kenyans, I concede. So the streets is the only thing that is going to help us. Let us just keep organizing on how we can make sure we get back to the streets. Any other thing, focusing on a legal approach that we are going to get salvation through our judicial system, that one I believe is very delusional, because the constitution itself is an instrument of power and they have strategically used it. Other instruments of power, which is money and the gun, they have it. We only have the people. Let us utilize our strength as much as we can. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tomboya. I'll pass the microphone to Samuel Kasuni. Samuel?
Afro, just a moment before Samuel gets on, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Clayson Monyela, all the way from South Africa. Thanks for joining, and feel free to pick the mic, or I'll send you the mic if you want to say something. That's really welcome. And Dr. Eve from Uganda, and we have also our brothers and sisters who are coming from the continent, just joining in the conversation. Back to you, Afro.
Oh, thank you so much. Welcome again, Clayton. As what is being said, yes, the only language I believe Ruto understands is the language of the streets. We have seen what kind of president and he is. We have seen him begin to kill youths, abduct us, and everyone, especially the generals who understand, and those who have been fighting this for a long time, they understand what the Nyayo era was like. And all the reversals of the democratic gains have started happening slowly. Tyranny always creeps up on you. It is creeping on us slowly. We all know the analogy of how to boil a frog. If you put a frog in hot water, it will quickly jump out. But if you increase it, the temperature slowly, you'll eventually cook it. And that's what's happening in our country. The temperatures are increasing, and all the alarmists, when you have Dr. Miguna Tony Gachoka saying that the temperature is increasing. We are seeing now we are going back into the dark days. We have seen the parliament, all the checks and balances are being neutralized. This is the most defunct parliament we've ever had in the history of the country, where not only is the president looking to bribe them, the MPs want to be bribed. The opposition neutralized. ODM and their MPs are the ones singing praises to Ruto and defending his policies. That is the IBC not functioning. And those people are thinking we're going to have a political solution by forming a political party, and we are going to compete with Ruto on a political contest. We cannot. That is out of the question. And there are people who still believe that. So the only solution is mass action, and that's why we must keep on injecting. We must keep on letting people know that this is the course of action we have to deal with Ruto, because even he has already started saying that you want to table a parliament bill to increase the term limits to 7 years. Imagine 7 years. Then after 14 years, he'll take over the term. Who says he has to be there for 2 years? So we can see this happening slowly, and that's why we must struggle. We must kill this baby in its infancy before it becomes this demonic idea. Must be killed right now. We must take over as the citizens of this country who love this country. Anyway, I'll give the microphone to Samuel. Samuel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Afrocentric and Marge, for hosting the space. I do agree with you when you talk about we can't use a political process. At the same time, I think we also have to be cautious of the interests of. We might be very emotionally drained that we feel like demonstrations are the best way to remove the current regime. But I also wonder it should also go parallel with another political process, because we have so many people, so many countries which are like so many countries have a lot of interest in our country and might not be able to sustain the maandamano way for a long time period of time. Secondly, we are fighting too much on the, when you look at the media, in the spaces, in the TL, there's a lot of infighting. So I think we need to look for a common ground where we can be able to cool down the temperatures and people just come together for common purpose. And as Kashoka said, the only problem, the biggest problem we have right now is we have parties that are owned by the individuals, where people can be called together. I know right now, or DM, they are meeting in Mombasa, and whatever Raila will say is what will happen. Same to the other parties. So I don't know which way we'll be able to build parties. Like those of us who have privilege to be in the Western countries, we know that parties are owned by people and all leaders are contributed from the people. So that is another way we should be running parallel or many events at one time. As we call for mandamano, civic education, other people should also be concentrating on the political system so that if all these other fails, we can be able to copy what happened in 2002, where we had a very popular party, the popular party that was able to, Moi could not even be able to rig. That is. So let's look for a way of, also some people should also look for a way of how do we support nurturing a party that belongs to people, so that we take this away power from these parties that are owned by individuals. So that is my contribution. As also, can we have all the people are influential? You may not agree, but you can agree on a certain calendar whereby, like, we agree, like next week we are going to discuss about IBC, so that every platform, every space, every influential blogger, and you are said some of the bloggers we need, even if it's to buy them, we all talk about IBC to put pressure so that we can be able to accelerate the process. Because right now, I understand the reason why IBC is not working is because of some petitions that have been filed by some people, and they are mark timing. So how do we know that those people are not also being used by the government to delay the IBC process? Secondly, if IBC is constituted today and we still have ODM and UDA,
Kindly
then
wind up.
yeah, what choice will we have? So unless we have a third force, a political system, which we own, I don't see even constituting an IBC way to help us, because we still have the same parties, which we have to choose between a thief and a lesser thief. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Samuel, for that. Marge, you had your hand up.
No, I was just trying to put a signal through that his time is up, but you then came in with the timer. That's perfect. We had queued Nelson next, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Over to you, Nelson. Welcome to the space, and take it away.
Thank you, Marge. I have 3 minutes.
You can take more as one of the invited guests.
Okay, thank you, Marge. Thank you, Afrocentric and Book 10. Yeah, so today I'm gonna be speaking about not only about Adani and JKIA deal, but also about SHIF, because the Adani deal is not just about a transaction over Kenya's largest airport. It's a symbol of how powerful private interest can manipulate public assets for profit. And it's a symbol of state capture that when this government came into power, they were shouting at the top of their voices that they're going to form commissions of inquiry to look into the issue of state capture. But in essence, they were actually trying to remove the other state capture. You know, like they were trying to remove the people in the Uhuru regime who had captured the state so that they can also capture the state. And this is what we are seeing happening today with Jayesh Saini, with Adil Kawaja. You have seen Adil Kawaja used to be KCB chairman. When he was in KCB, Uhuru harassed him a lot because he was helping Ruto to launder money. And when Ruto became president, he put him in charge of Safaricom so that, you know, they can continue with their state capture. You know, unhinged, because now there is no Uhuru to try and block them. And you have seen how Adil Kawaja has been instrumental in even the Adani case. They are the legal representatives of Adani in court today, through Denton's HHM, Harris, and I've forgotten this law firm from London. So where Adil Kawaja used to be the CEO before he became the chairman of Safaricom. Now he's the partner in this law firm, where Nick Ruto is also a partner, but it's not announced. Nobody knows, but he's not even practiced for a long time. Nick Ruto has practiced for, I think, about 3 years, and already he's been elevated to this level. You can see a lot of conflict of interest and many things happening in the background, well, that tells you that this is really state capture. And Adil Kawaja's friend Jayesh Saini as well has captured the healthcare sector. And this is what I really want to emphasize today, because Jayesh Saini is also the link to Adani. He's the one who took President Ruto to Modi and also to Adani himself, Gautam Adani. And you must also remember that Raila is not clean in this business, because before the elections, Jayesh Saini took Raila Odinga to Modi. If you go and check the news, you will see Raila Odinga traveled to India before the elections. So normally what this state capture cabal do before the elections, they place their bets on both sides of both sides of the political divide, so that whichever side gets into power, they still hold on to their businesses, because they're businessmen. And for them, politicians are just rent seekers. They're the landlords. They're the ones who control the money. Jayesh Saini, for the last 10 years, has been controlling the teachers' insurance plus police insurance. And in the last 10 years, he has siphoned 150 billion from TSC. And this case was in Parliament last year in November, but the MPs were paid off and they did not continue with the inquiry. Someone went to court, the case went silent, the case went cold earlier this year in March, because the 150 billion that was siphoned from the teachers' insurance means that the teachers do not get help. First of all, Jayesh Saini has over 20 companies in the health sector. He has the most famous companies that are known by people is Life Care, Bliss Healthcare is known, but there are so many other companies that he has, over 20 of them. And if the police or the teachers do not go to these clinics, they are either denied service, or it's a prolonged procedure, or the private clinic will be asked to give like 10, 15, 20% discount. If you refuse, you'll be told to go to Bliss. So these were some of the things that the MPs were asking Jayesh Saini through MAKL, which is the medical administrator. And remember, this MAKL, I call it Makil, so the insurance company that Jayesh owns, illegally siphoned these 150 billion shillings from the TSC. And nobody is saying anything about it. Also, this year in March, when the contract was about to be renewed, so the PS, I've forgotten which ministry, but the PS went to the president, and other people as well. They went to Ruto, and they told him that this MAKL is not working, and the teachers are suffering, the police are suffering. We need to look for a new insurance broker or insurance administrator. And Ruto told them, okay, fine, you guys look for another consortium of insurance brokers, and then we will send out a tendering process. But behind everybody's back, Jayesh Saini's company came back, and up to now, it's Jayesh Saini's company that is still siphoning money from TSC, money from police, and now in the new shift, they're the ones who are doing administration. So they have a company called Star Discovery Insurance. Star Discovery Insurance is owned by some 4 companies from Hong Kong, and this Star Discovery is a company that is one of the companies Jayesh Saini is owning. So he's a proxy in this company, and this Star Discovery is the one that is going to run SHIF, the insurance claims at SHIF. Apiero is a company that is being fronted, but in the background, it is Jayesh Saini's company that has actually done the system that has failed. This system that is not working is from Jayesh Saini. It's the same exact system that they're using to run the teachers' TSC insurance. And so the 104 billion it's a big scandal. It's a hoax. There is no system that was procured. The only thing they did was to take this system and make it look like it came from India, but it's the same system that is being used by teachers' insurance. Same exact. It's a copyright. So this is a huge scandal that should be challenged in court. And Tony, I also welcome you to, if you can, to put a team together and sue these people, because this is totally unacceptable. They cannot sell our assets. They cannot sell our people to go and work in farms and to work as maids in foreign countries. And then they cannot bring Indians to our own country to kill us, because over 10,000 teachers in this insurance fraud have died, because either there is a prolonged procedure or someone is in dire need of being admitted to the ICU, and the insurance guys will be like, no, you cannot admit him, just treat as outpatient, and then later this patient dies. It's a horror story, to say the least, and these people need to be in jail. We need to speak up, just as the way we spoke up, because of the finance bill. Kenyans need to speak up. We need to, show our anger to these people, because if we do not do it, either we are going to die, on our knees. We're going to die, and so many people who are hopeless, they will just die. Like the teachers are dying in silence, the police are dying in silence, and now through the shift, now everybody will die in silence. So if we don't speak up, if we don't go to the streets, the same thing that Jayesh has done for the last 10 years with teachers and police is now going to happen to everybody, because shift now is for everybody, and they're going to siphon money from shift for the next 10 years or even more. So Jayesh Saini has a loan of about 7 billion in DTB, and if we refuse for them to take over shift, he might go bankrupt, because these people, the way they operate, Jayesh Saini and Adil Kawaja, they are connected to a company in the UAE. This company is called NMC Healthcare. NMC Healthcare almost brought down healthcare in the UAE. You can imagine a country like the UAE, so big, so rich, but there was one Indian called B.R. Shetty who almost brought their healthcare down the entire country. And these people are connected to Jayesh Saini. This guy, B.R. Shetty, he had to run away to India because he was embroiled in a $4.5 billion scandal. And, this almost brought down the entire hospital because, the money was siphoned out of the UAE. Part of the money was directed to Jayesh Saini's companies as loans, but they never paid back. So this is the same thing, same way they are operating in Kenya. And this 7 billion loan that Jayesh Saini took from DTB, normally they take these loans, and you cannot have you cannot have your assets to be less and your loans to be more. Your assets need to be more, and then your loans need to be below your assets. But the way B.R. Shetty operated, his assets were less than his liability. And the same thing is happening in Kenya through Jayesh Saini. His liabilities are more than his assets, meaning if he doesn't get business from the government today, he becomes bankrupt. And that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that he is not going to siphon money from the government the way he's been doing, because the only reason he's not paying, you hear, oh, MTRH is owed, I don't know, 1 billion. I don't know which hospital is owed 100 billion from the insurance claims. The only reason why this money is not being paid to these hospitals is because his liabilities are too many. He has to service his loans, service what? So in return, He will not offer the right service. He will not pay these hospitals. And now it's going to be at a national scale, not only the teachers and the police. It's going to be everybody who's going to suffer because of the unscrupulous business deals and state capture. So we need to stop this, and the only way out is protests. If you look at France, for example, in 2023, the government came up with an extension of the retirement age. So they wanted people to retire at later ages. And the people were like, no, you cannot do this. You haven't consulted the people. And people went to the streets, people protested. The protests were huge. I'm sure you saw them. And the government had to listen to the people. The world over, in Bangladesh, it's the protests that brought down the government. In the US, it's the protests that hold their democracy. In so many other countries, it's protests that hold the politicians at bay. It's the protests that make the politicians understand that the power is not on them. The power belongs to the people. And it's only through protest, by disrupting everyday, by disrupting parliament, disrupting everything that works normally. That's when politicians understand that this power does not belong to us. And this is exactly what we need to do in Kenya. Otherwise, if we say, let's prepare for 2027, this is exactly what they want. They don't care about 2027. They will still up to 2027. The only way to stop them is today to go to the streets. So thank you, Afrocentric. You can take it back.
Thank you so much, Nelson, for that in-depth analysis of everything that's happening. I would pass the microphone now to Culture KE, Kenya Media.
Thank you, Afrocentric. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I had a suggestion, and Nelson did not bring it up, and I'm so happy here, Nelson, that you're here, because I did DM you yesterday. And I hope you don't mind I talk about this, because you did post something yesterday, because you were saying kind of French lawyers are expensive and you needed some assistance. So I just wanted to bring that up. Maybe you're too humble to bring it up, that Nelson has been doing a very, very good job. He does need our assistance. He does need lawyers. And he did post his numbers, guys. Let's changia for him so that he can be able to fight these demons that are against him. The other thing I wanted to ask Miguna, I know he's here, Nelson, Maj, I don't know which country you're in. Why don't we have a Diaspora International Day of Protest? We are actually in countries, because usually I go back and forth from the US to Kenya, 6 months in Kenya, 6 months in the US, because I work remote. Why we are in countries where protests, we're not going to be shut down? Why don't we all do a diaspora space and we do an international day of protest? There are a lot of Kenyans in London. There are a lot of Kenyans in Berlin, a lot of Kenyans in New York, a lot of Kenyans in Atlanta, a lot of Kenyans in Tennessee, all these countries that we go and we protest. So we have our colleagues in Kenya, but now we take over the mantle too. Rather than just monetary help, we do our protest, and it will be international, because Kenya, I've been to Greece, there are Kenyans there. And we do our protest because they are going also to highlight this on an international level. And we do 2 days. We do a weekend, we do a Saturday and a Sunday. If you have your kids, you have your kids come out. Your parents can come out. All the African friends who we have, Nigerians, people from West Africa, South Africa, all of them who are supporting Kenyans, they'll come out. If you have friends who are international, even in Europe, your friends will come out. I really, really, really think this will make an impact, because everybody's saying, hey, we need to protest, but we in the diaspora have not done our part in the protest. I know we are all contributing in some ways. We need to do a flyer. We need to do a big diaspora space. And everybody who's in the diaspora has no excuse not to come out. We can all come out in all international cities where we are and really put this guy to shame, in the international media, because that's the other push that we've not done and will bring the momentum to another level. So I'm urging all the people who are outside Kenya, we'll all go back. Me, I want to go home. I don't want to be here, honestly. I want to be full-time in Kenya. But at the same time, systems are not working for you. The biggest investors, instead of Ruto coming here and ajaribu kuget wazungu, should be coming here and talking to the diaspora people. We are the ones who want to invest back home. So I'm urging everybody, let's do an international space and really get out there. 2 days, hardcore protesting. We are free. We are here. Nobody is going to bother us. We can be able to protest every single day we want to, anytime we want to. We can do that. So before I just land, again, let's do a diaspora.
Land, your time is up here.
Okay, I'm just wrapping it up. Let's do an international space. And guys, please help out Nelson. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for highlighting that fact. We need to support Nelson, please. Nelson, if you can put some of those details on the Jumbotron, we'll be happy to put the word out, because you're doing an amazing job. And Culture, I'm not sure how much you know about what's been happening in the diaspora circles, but there have been protests held. I know protests were done in London, protests were done in Los Angeles, protests were done in Texas, Dallas, protests were done in Germany. The diaspora has been very much supporting what this movement has been doing from the get-go. So unless you're calling for another round, another spark of protests, but we have really, Kenyans in the diaspora have really supported everything this movement is going.
Another round. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Another round.
Another round. Oh, got you. Yes, another round. Maj?
Yes, thanks so much, Afra. I just wanted to say I put the link that Nelson shared on the Jumbotron. Thanks, Nelson. Guys, do support him if you're able to, and also thank you for the good work that you do. And talking of protest, I'd like to highlight the upcoming protest in the Netherlands. They're protesting around the Mashujaa Day. I put it on my highlights, but I'm going to put it again on the, just on the comment section. Now, this time, I'd like to give the general, the opportunity to chime in as we continue. I know a lot of you are waiting on the mic, but that's just fine. Nelson, your hand is up. Please say something before the general comes in.
Yeah, I texted you. So we need to have CPM Mwangi. He's an expert in PPP, so it would be nice if he speaks. I think he requested the mic.
Okay, let me check on him and add him. Meanwhile, as I add him, Dr. take a go.
Maja, I would wait for CPM Mwangi to speak first. I think we were expecting him. So Nelson is right.
Okay, then let me remove someone and then, there he is.
I've added him.
Okay, so CPM Mwangi, take it away and then we go to general and then we can proceed like that. Yeah.
My apologies. I'm winding up an event. I'll suggest the general to go far or be given like 2 minutes. I find a place to settle.
Okie dokie, thank you. So that bounces back to Dr. not unless we can give 6.
Oh, okay, all right. Maj, thank you very much. The discussion has been very good. And I thank everybody for their contributions. I think everything said, I embrace. The only thing I would like to say is that these discussions need much more focus. Laser beam focus, as I always say, because if we are not singularly focused, we will confuse the people. And we will not be able to identify the principal problems and be able to design strategies and tactics of solving them. So why do I say that? I have heard people talk as if there was democracy and the Bill of Rights were respected and the rule of law was there before Ruto or during Kibaki's reign, or that the only problem was Moi. And I think we have to be able to correct that misapprehension and misconception. Since the so-called independence, since 1963, there are basic things that have not changed and that need to be transformed. And the reason why I say that is the Kenyan state, and I've said this repeatedly, was not intended to empower the African citizen of Kenya. It was not meant for Africans. The Kenyan state was an extractive state that was only set up to extract raw resources, exploit the labor, and dominate the people. And the state was meant to have Africans as mascots representing the international interests of capital. So that when Ruto is there, his purpose and aim is to steal as much as he can, but ultimately to serve the metropole, Washington, London, Berlin, Paris, and these major capitals of the West. That is why when Ruto goes to New York, or he goes to Washington, D.C., or he goes to London, he can walk on the street, almost like an ordinary citizen. But he cannot do that in Kenya. Because in Kenya, he's Lord. He's an imperial lord. But in London, where he has lords that are supposed to be giving instructions on what to do in Kenya, he can behave as an ordinary citizen. In Kenya, he has a motorcade the length of River Nile. Whereas in Washington, he carries his own umbrella. You can see the discordance between the behavior that these people exhibit in foreign countries vis-a-vis how they behave in our own country. In our own country, they are slave masters and we are slaves. And in foreign countries, they are ordinary citizens. And this mentality, this structural defect, this structural setup is what has to be changed. That is why a lot of us are saying the problem is with the system. The problem is with the architecture and the structure of the state. The problem is with the institutions that were set up not to serve us, not to accord us dignity, not to preside over a democratic, fair, and just system, but to oppress us for as much as possible so that it is easier now to exploit us and to take the resources away from us. So what is the solution? I think it is wrong. And I know many people or some people will disagree with me, but I think it is fundamentally wrong to talk about the IEBC, to talk about the police, to talk about the judiciary, or any of these systems that were set up to preside over the state that I've just described. The entire system is rotten and cannot be reformed. If you set up an IBC today, Ruto will put his cronies, the likes of Sudi or people like him, so that when any election comes, whether you dissolve parliament or you don't, the people that will be elected will behave worse than the ones that you have currently. So you would have done absolutely nothing, zero. You would have scored at your own goal. If you say we reform the judiciary, so who presides over the reform? Who will appoint that person? It will be Ruto. So who do you think Ruto will appoint? Somebody worse than Koome. So that the system that was supposed to exploit you, that was supposed to repress you, is even more efficient. If you say we reform the police, who will appoint the committee that will preside over the reform? The same Ruto. Ultimately, my point is this. The main problem is a political problem. It is a structural problem. It is an institutional problem. And if we don't overhaul the existing state and structures, then you cannot solve the problem. We will be going round like fools forever. And this is what we have done since 1963. Yes, we have had struggles. And yes, we've had veterans of struggles, and I've been one of them that have been struggling. But we've achieved so little. For instance, we managed to stop Moi from continuing until he died. So he ended up saying, look, I repeal Section 2A and I reintroduce multi-party politics. But then they came around, mutated, and took over the multi-party politics. And they're the ones who have been controlling. So nothing much changed. Yes, the previous constitution, the old one, allowed Moi to detain us anytime he wanted, to torture us at Nyayo torture chambers anytime he wanted, to force as many people into exile as he wanted. And yes, we made sure that a new constitution came into being, which is what we have, the Constitution of Kenya 2010. And people died. Thousands of people died. Thousands of people were tortured. Thousands of people were exiled. Ngugi is still in exile, for example, right? I mean, Chelagat Mutai died a pauper because of it. Bildad Kagia died a pauper because of it. Pinto was murdered. So when we say there has been an ongoing struggle from 1963, we are not joking. Anybody who wants to say that, oh, only Gen Z started struggling, that person will have to be liberated from their colonial mentality. Many, many, many people have suffered to have us now be able to speak and challenge a sitting president the way that we are doing. But it's not been enough. So what is it we have to do? Because state capture is the norm, is the order of things. Adani will not go. Adani is actually Ruto. The courts will not be able to untangle all these things. This is not the work for judges. This is a political problem, and you're not going to solve it through forming political parties. Because the system, the electoral system, is completely colonized by Ruto and his group and others. The system is not free. So the same way that Chebukati announced Ruto as president, and whether he won fairly or not is of no consequence. The fact is, the system was rigged from day one. How do we liberate the system? To liberate the system and everything will fall into place, we have to remove Ruto from power. Let's not dance around this issue. The problem is at the top. The problem is at State House. With Ruto out of power, we can transform the system. The system below him will collapse on its own weight once he's removed from power. And the best way to remove Ruto from power, and this is documented, is patented historically since 1789, the French Revolution, is people power. This is how it's been done. This is how the Bangladeshi did it. This is how the Sri Lankans did it. This is how every other society has done it. It cannot be done any other way. I know many will ask, How do we do it if we are not united? You don't need everybody united. That's another illusion. That's another distraction. The Cuban Revolution was not brought by even a half of the population. The Bangladeshi Revolution was not brought by even 2 million people. And how many people are in Bangladesh? You don't need 5% of Kenyans to remove Ruto from power. You just need 1 to 2 million people. That's a very small fraction of Nairobi's population. And really, you don't need anybody else anywhere else except in Nairobi. Ruto can be removed from power from Nairobi. Ruto will not be removed from power from Washington or from New York or from Toronto or from London. Ruto will be removed from power in Nairobi. So we should not dance around some of these things because the formula is well known and the strategy is scientific. That the moment you have a significant number of people protesting on the street, even the police cannot intervene because we have less than 250,000 policemen in Kenya. So if you have 2 million people, the police cannot shoot. Remember, on June 25th this year, Ruto had already fled Nairobi. Ruto was not in Nairobi. He had already run away. He was in Narok, waiting to go to Eldoret, and then probably from there, Uganda. So even on the 25th of June, Ruto was ready to leave power. The problem is that we were infiltrated and we had voices through NIS announcing that people should not march to State House, people should go home. These are the things we have to deal with. These are internal contradictions that we must deal with. These are the contradictions that were not there in Bangladesh. The students were being killed on the street, and by the way, more died in Bangladesh than died in Kenya. But they stayed on the street every single day and they liberated their country. And the rest is history. And we can see the transformation of Bangladesh with our own eyes right now in real time. And they were not shouting at their counterparts that were not in Bangladesh. Like the person presiding over the transition was not even in Bangladesh. He's some old retired professor that was living in Paris. The same thing happened in Iran. The Ayatollah was in Paris when the Iranian Revolution took place. It was not in Iran. So a lot of people are ignorant of history and are ignorant about what is happening. Revolutions happen all over the world organically, but in a disciplined, focused, fearless manner. But it has to be consistent. Revolutionaries must identify who their enemy is or enemies are singularly and not be confused and not be distracted. Anybody telling us that we petition, we collect 1 million signatures to remove Ruto is either working for Ruto or for NIS or from the international intelligence agencies, or is just a fool, because you're not going to remove Ruto through petitions. Anybody who tell you that, oh, we just need one member of parliament to bring an impeachment motion is also either fool or working for Ruto or working for the international intelligence agencies. Because Ruto will not be impeached. He owns the members of parliament. He has given them the freedom to loot the illegal CDF as much as they want. So as far as they are concerned, the person who is giving them millions, hundreds of millions of public money every year to loot is their boss. They are going to salute at Ruto. They are going to worship him. They are going to kneel before him. They are going to kiss him. They are going to do everything he wants. And that's exactly what they're doing. So if you have any doubt, then look at the speed at which they impeached Gachagua. Gachagua, who was Ruto's running mate just 2 years ago. Gachagua, who who apparently spent billions in Ruto's campaign. Gachagua, who campaigned for Ruto in Kikuyu, in Mount Kenya, and had Ruto, quote unquote, win the election. If they can turn against Gachagua, who the hell are you? You have not given Ruto even one dime. You have not campaigned for him. Who are you? Why should Ruto care about you? And as you can see, he doesn't care about you. Now, a lot of people say, oh, revolutions are violent. Revolutions are uncertain. What is more violent than Ruto? Because I don't understand these people when they make these arguments. Since independence, how many people have been killed who have been so innocent, killed by the state? So let's start with the easiest. Kenyatta killed Pio Pinto. What crime did he commit? What violence did Pinto inflict on Kenya? Who did Pinto steal from? Do you know? Because there is none. So go to Mboya, who had helped him in his strategies even to destroy Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. So why did he kill Mboya? Tom Mboya was a brilliant man, young, vibrant, charismatic, eloquent, a super mobilizer. They killed him. For what? What had he done? How about Dr. Robert Ouko, just recently? Another one. What had he done? How about Odhiambo Mbai, a quintessential gentleman, a super scholar? What did he do? All he did was bring us devolution. He's the one who introduced this devolution idea, not Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is an appropriator. He appropriates people's intellectual properties and say it is his. Odhiambo Mbai brought us the devolution. Did he live to see it or its benefits? No. How about Musando? How about the Gen Zs that Ruto killed and called violent and he called criminals? So if this system and the president, successive ones, have been killing Kenyans, killing demonstrators, and armed protesters, what will stop them? The constitution hasn't stopped them. The legal system hasn't stopped them. Court orders hasn't stopped them. The quote-unquote democratic, governance hasn't stopped anybody. The West hasn't stopped them. So who will stop them? We are the only ones who can stop them. I speak from experience because I was there, I've been there. I mean, people pretend that they were not there in 2018 when we were protesting and I was abducted from my house and tortured and sedated and dropped dead in Dubai and left for dead, and then forced out and blocked from coming to Kenya for 5 years. And people pretend this did not happen. And people pretend we have not seen anything, we have not suffered, they are the ones suffering now. And people insist that no, only one person should be suffering every day and dying for us. But we should not be risking our lives. Because somebody should be leading, should be coming to lead us, should be our liberator. I want to remind you that Che Guevara, who probably is the dean of revolutionary politics in the world, said, and I've been saying this, there is no liberator. Nobody is going to liberate you. And nobody must. And nobody should. You must liberate yourself, every one of us. Because if you don't want to liberate yourself, how will the other person liberate you? If you don't want to rest and go onto the street, because you are saying Miguna's children are not here, so how will my children being there help you? So say, for example, they are not there, which means they are not suffering under Ruto. So which means whether Ruto goes or not doesn't matter to them. So who is suffering? You are suffering. They are not suffering. And this is the reality. We have to just face the reality. You are suffering. Some of us have sacrificed our lives for you. And some of us continue to agitate, to talk about these things, and to expose them, and to call for change. We could easily forget about everything and continue with our lives. Why haven't we? Because we are committed to an egalitarian, equitable, fair, and just social order. That's why we are doing it. We are doing it because it is the right thing to do. And we are doing it from wherever we are. And we are doing it with whatever ammunition we have. So if you have the pen and that's all you can wield, use it. If you have the eloquence and that's all you can do, use it. If you have bazookas and you can come in large numbers and use them, use them. If you have numbers, which is what we are saying is our best weapon, our numbers, because it's very difficult to defeat 1 million plus people marching unarmed peacefully. If you attack those people and you kill them, you cannot survive because nobody will let you survive. The world cannot let you survive. Yes, we know the horrors of Palestine, and so far, the Israelis have gotten away with it, but it will not go on forever. I can assure you. Now, Kenya is a bit different. The Americans will not be able to do what they are doing in Palestine in Kenya. They will not protect Ruto because Ruto has no benefit that he gives them that they cannot replicate or they cannot replace. Which means that if Ruto is removed today, they can use somebody else, they hope, as long as there is no revolution. If there is a revolution, the Americans would want to do business with the people that have taken power and try to corrupt them the way they did with Museveni, with other people. But if it is a genuine organic revolution that is grounded on the genuine grievances of the people and are supported by the people and owned by the people, it cannot be sabotaged. They have tried many times to overthrow the government of Burkina Faso. They have failed so far. And that government is working for the people because it's a revolutionary government. They tell us there is no benefits the revolutionaries have brought. We know the benefits Thomas Sankara brought in Burkina Faso before they assassinated him. We know that child mortality rate dropped almost to zero. We know that a dry country became food secure. We know that gender equality became a reality in the 1970s. We are not talking 2000 and something. In the 1970s, we know that corruption was eliminated in 4 years. And we know that there was no repression, that the Burkinabe called themselves the upright men and women of the world, and the world respected them. So what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, the only challenge we have and we must confront is what are the mechanisms, what are the strategies of organizing ourselves and mobilizing the people so that Ruto can be removed from power this year, not next year, in 2024. The material conditions are ripe. In fact, we want Ruto to go ahead and do exactly what he's doing faster. The removal of Gachagua helps us because he alienates a large population from Mount Kenya that had hoped that he had brought them nirvana. He has just shown them that he doesn't care, that he has no gratefulness, that he doesn't reciprocate, that he betrays. That's good. That's a good recruitment area for us. Disillusionment, anger is good for us. When Ruto fights his own people, when UDA is divided into two, that's excellent for us. We should make sure that we encourage them to fight more, because in fact, if they can kill each other, that would be very good for us, because then we don't have to do much. We just have to go and take over, because they have already killed each other. So let Ruto and Raila fight with Gachagua, and we should encourage Gachagua not to surrender, to fight them, so that this elite, even if they kill each other, would be good for the Kenyan state. But let us continue relentlessly to organize and mobilize for a bigger day. And hopefully, Mashujaa Day could be the beginning or could be it. But boycott, I have a problem with. Because really, we boycott what? This needs proactive, active action. Talking about IBC, we don't need it. Talking about dissolving parliament, if you dissolve this parliament, Ruto will call fresh elections, only parliamentary elections, and he will have worse people than the current parliament. But the moment Ruto goes, parliament dissolved by itself or on its own weight, all the institutions collapse, the system is gone, and we can build from down up. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Daktari, for your submissions, and of course for always staying true to the course and for sharing your experience, your lived experience that really we need to hear and really also take into consideration. That was really a powerful submission, and thanks for that. As we continue, because CPM was to go actually before Daktari, but let's also not forget to keep connecting and building a network, and we will keep checking on the time. I see we still have a lot of requests coming in, so let's really come to the point when we get the mic and not really repeat the points that have already been discussed, so that at least we have more people have a chance to speak. CPM Mwangi, go, and then we go to African, and then Lady Justice, and 3 minutes each. Or CPM will give you more as an invited speaker, and then African, Lady Justice in 6 in that order. CPM?
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't know if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, so just to correct something, I'm an associate. I will not consider myself at the expert level, but I know enough to comment on the issue that is going on. As I was telling Nelson, PPPs, they are usually more of a negotiation, because one end is incapacitated of something and the other one able to provide it, but on terms that it's a quid pro quo. It's not a matter of discrimination. And this deal has been challenged all over by all parties. I think the better part of this week, it was challenged by an organization called T3 World Council. It's an affiliation majorly in Asia, but does provide services across the world. And they gave their case yesterday, which I think I can try to read it, about day, you cannot negotiate it as they want, like what happened with Expressway. Expressway right now, it just offers convenience of time, particularly for the guys from the airport to the extended parts of the city. If right now Expressway is removed out of the picture, we just go back to traffic and the line. If you wake up tomorrow morning, JKIA is not functioning, it will be a blow to the economy. So we need to evaluate what exactly is happening. Countries like what are they called? UK had a proposal to expand the airport since 2003. They came to approve it in 2018. These were just rumors here and there, renovations 2013, 2017. The proposal began coming, I think, around COVID. All of a sudden, we want to sign it. We have to add a little pinch of seriousness in terms of what we are doing. And one problem with privately initiated proposals, you can never know what exactly has been agreed. And that is the same case for SGR, the same case for Express. You can never know the full details compared to when something is a solicited tender. So I think at this time I can stop at that summary. So I look for the other speakers.
Thank you so much, CPM Mwangi, for the submission. It's indeed really a very unfortunate event whereby the citizens are protesting, but the government keeps telling them that they're not going to listen to them. It doesn't matter what they say. They have public participation on impeachment of the deputy, but they don't have a public participation on other matters that really, involve the needs of the citizens. So this is a very unfortunate scenario that's going on. And I hope at one time it's going to come back to bite the people that are doing it. But unfortunately, we have to be more vigilant because the other time in South Africa, we had the Guptas who are really also allegedly involved in the state capture. And then we had the Kenyan Patni who moved to Zimbabwe, and there was all of a sudden really exposed by Al Jazeera to be at the front line of, the gold smuggling or activities that were going on in Zimbabwe, basically just, looting the country. It's a rich country that's currently going down because of corruption. And at that point, in the interview that was aired by Al Jazeera, Patni actually openly, disclosed how he helped Moi do some of this. There's things that probably some of the people in Kenya never knew how they happened, but he believed that he's talking to a friend and trying to just, disclose how he works. So a state capture is not something to be taken lightly. We have to keep fighting. We have to really try to find a solution, because by the end of the day, if we don't, we are going to end up with very terrible situations like one that just transpired today. We had the Kenyan embassy in Thailand sending out a letter that reads like a horror movie of Kenyans going into Thailand and being taken to Burma and enslaved there. They're running away from their countries and in their country, and they're going to be, handed into modern slavery because of the state of failure. The country is actually failing. So we really need to be vigilant. And you might think it's not happening to you, it doesn't involve you, but it really will involve you at some point. And for those who remember the story about the hornbill, where the hornbill kept making noise in the forest and the other animals said, well, the hornbill's noise or pain is not our pain. And then the hornbill was actually eaten up. And then by the end of the day, all these animals who were very quiet ended up being victims of the other animal that was preying on them. So by the end of the day, it really remains our our problem, and we have to be vigilant all the time. African Lady Justice, then 6 in that order.
Yes, thank you so much. I've been patiently waiting for a long time, and it's been great. It's been great to hear from all the speakers. So thank you so much for hosting this space on this beautiful Saturday morning and for all the engagement we have had here. I just wanted to highlight 3 factors as we talk about the state of the nation. Yes, it's true. We cannot look at this as a step-by-step approach whereby we say, oh, first we do this, the next we do that. I think it's going to take multiple operating teams, maybe with the steering committee, that can really help to channel what we are trying to do as a group. Secondly, there was a conversation about how to engage diaspora. I am a diaspora and I've been in the United States for 20 years now, and I lived in Kenya for more than 20 years. So, 2 decades of experiences in Africa and in the United States. And there's a lot that I have to share along with the people that I know who really care about Kenya. They want to work here and they want to retire in Kenya, but they not at the rate we are going, right? And I recently visited Kenya for 3 months, and I know we have the potential, we have the opportunity, we have the human capital. We just need to be able to put ourselves together. There's a story I usually like to talk about. This person went to visit an elephant farm, and he noticed that there was this big elephant tied with a rope on the leg to a little tree stump. And he was wondering, well, why is this elephant just stuck here, tied on the tree stump? And, doesn't the elephant know it can break off and just, it can break this tree stump and take off? So the elephant went to ask the owner, oh, what's going on with, no, the person went to ask the owner, what's going on with this elephant? And the owner said, when this elephant was young, he was tied to the rope, he was tied to the tree stump. And so for all his life, he's always known if he tries to pull, there's something that's making him get stuck. And so even though the elephant has evolved, it's become a youth, it's become an adult, it still feels it doesn't have the empowerment to move away from the tree stump. And that's why it's still stuck there with the rope tied to the tree stump. So we as Kenyans right now, there's a time I really believed in the colonialism agenda and the script that I was given at school. I was taught that the white man came here to teach me how to read and write and how to